It's Nilvarcus here, welcome back to another video. So the first beta weekend for Battlefield 6 just wrapped up and I wanted to sit down and gather my thoughts on it. I have to say I played a lot more than I initially expected up to this weekend, and it seemed like everyone was jumping on, and the game was even breaking its concurrent player record on Steam, which was pretty wild to see. I thought it would be a good time to make a video and just talk through my experience, especially as someone who hasn't really sunk their teeth into the Battlefield game since way back in Battlefield 3. This beta has me feeling something I haven't felt for the franchise in a long time. Feels like it could be a real comeback now. There are moments that bring back strong memories of the games many of us love, like Battlefield 3 and 4, and that's a very good sign. Now, before I get into the thick of it, I want to put a couple of disclaimers out there. You know where I'm coming from. First, I'm generally not a huge fan of like massive, large-scale war modes that Battlefield is famous for. I've always preferred the smaller, more focused infantry combat. Think 16 or 32 player modes. So for this beta weekend, my experience is almost entirely based on that 16 player domination mode. I know some of you in the comments might say, why the hell I'm talking about Battlefield if I don't like the big war mode? And I think that's a fair point. I'm just not a big on like the vehicles, the planes. I'm here mostly for the kind of a ground war, and I think there's room for both types of gameplay. So the second disclaimer, as I mentioned, I haven't been a dedicated Battlefield player since the days of like Battlefield 3. I did play every single Battlefield game in one of their like open betas, but none of them really grabbed me. So I'm definitely coming into this game from like a different perspective than someone who's been keeping up with the franchise and playing every single Battlefield game. So yeah, just wanted to get those two things out of the way, just to give you some context for my opinion. Since this was just the first beta weekend, I want to focus mainly on the positives and what I really enjoyed about the game. The most important thing for me is that this game feels like a Battlefield again. It feels like the franchise is returning to its roots. The overall gameplay flow feels much closer to those earlier beloved titles. I've tried every Battlefield beta over the years and none of them held my attention. This one is different though. I was like genuinely having a lot of fun, and it feels great to be kind of pulled back into this world. The general vibe feels so grounded and modern, which is like a huge draw. The second thing is the gunplay. Just another huge positive for me. It just feels incredibly satisfying to shoot the weapon in the game. The sound design is so punchy, the weapons have a good sense of weight, and it all comes together to feel impactful. In my experience, the hit detection has been surprisingly solid too. I have a pretty terrible internet connection, but I was hitting my shots pretty consistently. I never had the like frustrating feeling of having my crosshair directly on the target, yet my bullets seem to disappear. This consistency makes the gunfights feel fair and kind of rewarding to me. The third is that audio-visual experience is pretty much top-notch in this game. If you have like a good pair of headphones, the sound design is incredibly immersive. You really feel like you're in the war zone with the explosions echoing in the distance and the distinct sounds of different gunshots just flying past. It's just so well done, and visually the game looks great. I was playing on the lowest settings to maximize my frames, and it still looked really good. I also had no trouble like with the enemy visibility, at least in the 16 player mode. I could always see people, and it was always pretty easy to spot the targets, which is quite important in the type of game they're all trying to build here. And finally, the performance. The gaming space has pretty much been plagued with the poorly optimized game releases lately, so it's incredibly refreshing to play a beta that actually runs well. It was pretty much buttery smooth experience in pretty much every mode that I played in this game. So for a beta experience, the game seems to be very well optimized. I'm always in the first row telling people when game runs like shit, so take it as you will. But to have a game of this scale run smoothly is quite incredible in my opinion, and made the experience very enjoyable, so gotta give them some mad props for that. Now, I have seen some of the community feedback floating around. People have talked about issues with the map design, and some have mentioned the inconsistent time to kill. On the time to kill, I have to say I actually really like how fast it is right now, at least in the smaller mode. It just makes the gameplay flow better in my opinion. I can definitely see how it might be an issue in the large game modes, where you could be taken out from across the map without really any time to react. The fast TTK could also make cheaters a much bigger issue, because they can basically just laser you from the distance and you can't do anything about it. I think ultimately this game is gonna live or die based on if they can deal with the cheaters or not, so I'm gonna be keeping my fingers crossed for that. So yeah, that's pretty much my quick rundown of my time with the Battlefield 6 beta. This is all coming from someone who again really prefers kind of the smaller game modes that aren't necessarily the main draw for many Battlefield fans. I still had a really fun time just playing the 16 player mode, and I think there's absolutely room in this game for both the massive warfare and the tight infantry focused combat, so I think they can easily cater to both type players. I'm really excited to jump into the second beta weekend and see how things feel and if any of my opinions change. I'm looking forward to trying some of the other modes and seeing if I still feel the same way about the game. I'll probably make make a follow-up video to let you guys know how that goes. But for now, I'm leaving this first beta with quite a positive impression. But yeah, I'm really curious to hear what you all think. If you played the beta, let me know in the comments. How do you feel about it? What did you like? What did you dislike? As always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.